let's go ahead and continue our story. I know this is hard to believe, but we're going to plow through this. We're in the last sentence of paragraph 5.
This command was taken seriously?
Okay. We just went through in the upper part of it.
Page 4.
Exact middle of the page. We just talked about, to do this in memory of me. On page 4, the middle of the paragraph. Middle of the page. And now we're at the last one. This command was taken seriously. Jesus said, do this in memory of me. Well, let's see if the apostles took this seriously. Let's go to our Bibles now. Acts chapter 2, verse 46. Let's see if the apostles were obedient. What does that verse say?
Every day they devoted themselves to meeting together in the temple area and to breaking bread in their homes. They ate their meals with exultation and sincerity of heart.
So how often now did the early church worship?
Every day.
Every day. Just reading this in Acts of the Apostles, it sure seems it was part of their routine in the very early church. I mean, the very beginning. We're talking right after Pentecost. Right after the birthday of the church, Scripture tells us they were meeting every day to break bread. Every day. Why do you think the Catholic Church celebrates Mass every day? We're biblical. If you're ever in a discussion with your friends, your non-Catholic friends, ask them, why do you meet on Sundays? What does the Bible say?
Give us this day our daily bread.
Yeah, and our Father says our daily bread.
Yeah.
And it says they met every day. How about that? So that's why the Catholic Church celebrates Mass every day. It's biblical. That's what the apostles did. And let's just look a little bit further. What does Acts chapter 20, verse 7 tell us?
On the first day of the week, when we gathered to break bread, Paul spoke to them because he was going to leave on the next day, and he kept on speaking until midnight.
So it says here a little later on in the history of the church, it says on the first day of the week, when they gathered to break bread. What day is he talking about here? Sunday. The first day of the week. The apostles now are starting to worship also on Sunday. What's the big deal about worshiping on Sunday?
That's the day of resurrection.
Yeah, what
The
in
day of rest.
context to the Old Testament?
God rested.
They rested on
Not the Sabbath.
Yeah. In Old Testament times, Saturday was their main day of worship. But now, the apostles are making now Sunday their main day of worship. And let's just look up one more in 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 2. What is Paul telling us? A little later on in the history of that church. When was their key day of worship?
On the first day of the week, each of you should set aside and save whatever one can afford, so that collections will not be going on when I come.
So what day of the week were they meeting again?
The first day.
The first day of the week. Emphasizing now Sunday is their main day of worship. Yes, they worshiped every day, but now Sunday replaced Saturday for their main day of worship. And now you need to know the answer to this question. Because, does anyone know of our Seventh-day Adventist friends?
Yeah.
What day do they worship on? Saturday.
Why is that?
And they're going to say, hey, you crazy Catholics, why are you worshiping on Sunday? God Himself established the worship day to be on Sabbath, which is Saturday. This is fact. In the Old Testament, their main worship was Saturday. So, Catholics, what gives you the right to worship on Sunday? What is our answer?
Look at Acts 20, verse 7.
We now have the New Testament.
Okay, we have the New Testament. Okay. Scripture tells us now that they began to worship on the first day of the week. Okay, so you can say, well, the Bible tells us that, but we can go deeper than that.
Matthew 16:19.
What's that?
Didn't it begin at sundown?
Well, technically that's when it started. That's when it started. But what gave this early church the right to change the main worship from Saturday to Sunday? Okay, the reason why they did it is because Christ resurrected on Sunday. That's the reason why they changed it. But by what right did they have to change it, though?
Jesus gave the authority.
Authority!
Jesus gave.
Christ gave authority to His church to speak on His behalf. Remember where in the Bible Jesus does this?
Matthew 16:19.
In Matthew chapter 18, verse 18, Jesus said to the apostles, whatever you bind on earth, I'll bind in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth, I'll loose on earth. Jesus gave the apostles the authority to speak for Him. That's why the apostles can change it from Saturday to Sunday, and it's legitimate. They had Christ's authority to do it. So when our Seventh-day Adventist friends tell us, hey, you crazy Catholics, you're violating God's law, you're worshiping on Sunday instead of Saturday, what we have to tell them is that Christ gave authority to His apostles so that they could change it from Saturday to Sunday. Then you can ask them, well, do you believe in this book? What gave us this book? The authority of the church. So if the authority of the church can give us this book, how can you say the authority of the church can give us this book, but then you negate the authority to change a day from Saturday to Sunday? You got to be consistent. So Christ, through the authority of His church.
And the term that they use for Catholics is a lot stronger than crazy.
You want to expound on that?
Have you ever got into discussion with a Seventh?
Seventh-day Adventists, a little bit, not a lot. Not a lot. Seventh-day Adventist. Does anyone know Seventh-day Adventists? Before we do it.
Might it also have been their effort to separate themselves from Jews, Christians from Jews?
Well, remember,
There were two Jewish.
Old Covenant. God, who were God's people in the Old Covenant? Just the Jews. That was His people. Exclusively the Jews. But now Jesus came in the New Covenant. Now who's included in His family?
Gentiles.
Everybody. So that's a valid point. You know, making the transition from just the Jews to now everyone.
Well, you know, they have a new channel on the cable, Channel 6.
They sure do.
The Seventh-day Adventists, they don't say that much, but that's what it is.
They say plenty about us.
Yeah, they're very anti-Catholic.
And was absolutely astounded.
They're very
when they said about the
anti-Catholic.
Catholic Church.
I went to a Bible class at the Seventh-day Adventist, and it was on Revelation. And
That's their big deal.
And everything was going real well. I mean, I was pleased until they said that the Antichrist was John Paul II.
Yeah, they're really into the book of Revelation.
Yeah, there's a big billboard.
There's a big billboard out of Grants Pass or something. Seventh-day Adventist. They're pretty. About a year and a half ago, they sent. There was a mass mailing to Klamath Falls. They sent a book. It's called the National Sunday Law, I think it's called. Did anyone receive that?
Oh, no.
They sent a book to almost every person in Klamath Falls. And you go through the book and it's really anti-Catholic. And you know me, they had a number in Chiloquin to call up for information. So I called up and talked to this gal. Poor gal. You know, and some of the things are outright lies that are in the book. And I said, you know, you have your right to your opinion, but at least don't publish lies.